Welcome back guys on my YouTube channel. It's been a while since my last video, but as many of you have seen and read, I currently became the team manager of the new official Yamaha Tenere World Raid team. Been pretty busy, very exciting, but this doesn't mean I will stop with the bike build, so I'll continue to bring them on the channel. And today we have a Yamaha Tenere 700, very different from the ones I prepared previously. This is the bike of Mario. Mario is someone that does custom builds on cars, on high-end cars such as Porsche, BMWs, and he came here and he told me, Mano, I want to do a really cool bike to match my cool cars. So we went full with the design, starting from the sticker design. We went for a matte finish and we printed all in black, red and white and some gray with forged carbon here on the side. I didn't know how it would come out, but when we saw it, it was really, really cool. is the logo with which they customize cars, so I'll leave the link in the description if you're curious to see what customization they do. But now let's start with the cool stuff. There is really a lot to say on this bike, so take a seat and I'll go through all the modifications we made. Starting from the front end of the bike, you see the one-piece windshield by Rebel X Sports. This keeps the OEM headlight but adds some protection and gives just a really cool gladiator look to the bike. It's fixed only with 2 bolts. This means that if we have to intervene on any of the wiring on the tower, we'll just have to remove 2 bolts and the fairing will completely come out. On the side fairing panels, we added these quick release turn indicators. When you go off-road, generally you don't want to use turn indicators because they're exposed in case of crash. I personally don't use them completely. Eventually I just run away from the police. But if you want to be a bit street legal, you can put these indicators. They use a normal headphone jack and they just pull out. From this view, you can see we added the rally handguards. Many of you always ask me about these handguards. For sure, they should be available in May on the Rebel X Sports website. I'll try and update the link once they're online. But now let's move on the really interesting part, which is all the nav tower and smart devices that we have. From here, we are able to see that we changed the front fuel tank. Reason is, as soon as you crash, the OEM tank gets dense inside it and you can't really repair it. So we went with the Acerbis 23-liter tank. An added feature is the fuel cap because you can remove it just by hand. Also, this is very important because if you do a lot of off-road compared to the key cap, this makes the tank breathe much better, so you avoid vapor lock. That's why sometimes you go to open the cap and it won't open. One thing that probably most of you already noticed is that the stickers on the fuel tank are making bubbles. The reason is we simply forgot to do the cutouts on the graphic. When you do graphics and stickers for fuel tanks, you always have to have cutouts in order for the gas to be released, because even though this is plastic, the tank breathes and this will prevent your graphic to do all these ugly bubbles. We will then reprint the fuel tank part, but now I don't have time because I'm leaving soon. But then Mario will have the proper stickers on. You can't really see it now, but we have also a Scott's steering damper placed with the triple clamp mount on the triple clamps. We changed the handlebar. We went for a Pro Taper contour handlebar, changed the grips. We put clamp on half waffle Pro Taper grips. Levers have been changed. Also, these are from Pro Taper. They look cool. They're black and have this added gold, but also they have the feature that you can quickly adjust them just by hand. You can adjust the clutch, not only the clutch tension, but also the lever, the position of the lever and the position of the front brake lever. To change the front brake lever, we had to change the brake pump. We went for the YZ brake pump. You saw this installation also on other rally builds I made based on the Tenere. This means we also changed the brake line, but we decided to keep the front caliper on the right-hand side. So you have your disc and caliper on the right-hand side because it keeps everything neater. If we had placed it on the left-hand side, like I did on my first build, we would have the front brake hose run here and probably end up rubbing against something. This is just neater. It doesn't really make a difference. Some question if it's better to have it on this side because you have the rear on the other side, but it's just, I don't know, it's just something you have in your head. You know, if you're a slow rider, you'll find this excuse or some other excuse. There's a lot going on here. We moved the OEM dashboard to the handlebar with the kit from Rebel X Sports that you can also buy just the dashboard relocator if you wanted. But since we wanted to install the carpe heater with its charging bracket, this is a bit heavy, so we had to change the tower. We went for a full tower because if you want to use the OEM, that's a bit too fragile for such a heavy instrument. As long as you put a GPS, a phone, that's fine. But if you want to go with a heavier device, you definitely need a full tower. This tower is modular, meaning that if Mario one day wants to install a road book holder and trip master, it's just 3 bolts and you can install the road book holder or any other bracket. Furthermore, if you want to change the headlight, because we know the OEM headlight is approximately 3 kilos and we have solutions for half a kilo, that means removing 2.5 kilos from the front end of the bike. You can always upgrade in a second moment because this tower is compatible with both the OEM headlight but also the other LED aftermarket headlights, which are not street legal, but we also have a street legal one that is pretty small. From this other side, you can see we have the carpe heater but also the Bluetooth switch. With this switch, we can command and move around the menus, around the maps of the carpe heater. But also, if we go with the roadbook app, we can scroll back and forward through the roadbook and also bring the trip master forward and backwards. Always on the handlebar, we have this small bracket clamp from Monzatec. Here you have a green LED. This is connected to the water pump. I'll show you in a few seconds. Then, always on the nav tower, we have the quick charge USB ports with the voltmeter display to know how many volts you have coming out from the battery. Just a quick notice, this doesn't apply, I think, for the Yamaha, but for other brands, if your battery is below 13 volts or 14 volts, certain bikes won't turn on. So if you have 11 volts coming from the battery, the bike will simply not turn on. This is not the case for this bike, where we installed a GET lithium battery, removing weight also from there. The carpe heater has dual charging. It has 2 pins underneath the bracket, but also here an M8 circular connector. This is because if you're using a SIM card inside here, going always in 4G and doing a lot of scrolling and moving around, just the pins on the bracket won't hold the charge. In this way, you won't have to worry about charging your device. And this comes OEM when you buy the carpe heater. Everything is wired through the normal fuse box that we use. This is the same fuse box we use also on the official Tenere bikes with which Paul Tarres and Alessandro Botturi are racing. Moving on to the suspension, the front forks are always the 43mm, but the Andreani All-In's cartridge kit is installed. This I didn't do. I received the bike already with this cartridge kit and with the rear shock. Moving on to the low part of the bike, we have an Acerbis bash plate. This is the first time I install it. I need to see how it will perform. Then we have the Monzatec water pump kit. This is a kit that should keep the temperatures much lower, and it's commanded by an electronic ECU that is under the seat. We have then this GB Racing clutch and ignition covers. These add obviously protection in case of crash, because this part is pretty exposed. We then opted for the Rebel X Sports Adventure Rally foot pegs. This gives you a much wider footprint compared to the OEM and standard foot pegs. This is really important on adventure bikes, because if you have a large footprint, when you're in tricky section, maybe going uphill and you really need to find traction, this helps really a lot. Moving on to the rear, this bracket covers the rear brake pump. It's the YZ Nissin brake pump with the Rebel X Sports bracket in order to be able to mount it. Someone asked me recently if this brake pump is plug and play and bolts on the OEM support. The answer is no. We had to manufacture a special bracket in order to adapt it. Together with the brake pump, we changed the rear brake fuel hose, whereas we kept the caliper always the same. We're almost at the end. One of the things you surely firstly notice is the SC Project exhaust. I've used this exhaust on one of my videos where I did a specific video testing this exhaust. I think it looks really nice. It gives that rally look, but also it improves slightly the performance. Behind the exhaust, we have the wheel where we changed simply the rim. The hub is the OEM, but we went for a slimmer rim at 2.5 inches, because you need a 2.5 inches if you want to use the Tenere with mousse. The OEM one is 4 inches and it's too wide to use the mousse. Tires, you can clearly see we went for more specific tires. It's Dunlop tires. The rear, I tested it and I think it's a really good tire for adventure riding. I could almost compare it to the Michelin Desert. I believe those are the two top tires for rally racing and long adventure rides. End of the bike, we have also on the rear the quick release turn indicators and a Rizoma plate holder. Everyone always complained on my bike that my license holder looks like shit because it's the OEM, very long and bulky. We went for this lightweight aluminum one and gives a nicer look to the bike. You know, I'm not a fan of wires going around not in a neat way. This is something I personally didn't do. The bike arrived like this because I didn't install the Monza Tech, it was installed by someone else. This is the ECU that commands the water pump. I think here a better job could have been done, but anyway, I won't touch it because I don't know how this works. Here we changed the battery, have the Get lithium battery. Probably this, once it's placed in a better order, you'll have some added space in order to put tools. Last but not least, we added the twin air foam filter because for a lot of off-road, we want a filter that we can clean and adds protection to the airbox. In the intro, you saw that we had also the Selle della Valle seat cover on and the one-piece seat, but that was the high version. It was from my personal bike. Now we removed it because the rally seat from the Tenere 700 Rally didn't arrive yet, but then we'll put that because it's halfway between the standard seat height and the rally accessory seat height. We are at the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed this bike build. We'll soon come with other Tenere bike builds, but also working on some other bikes, which I'll tell you more soon. Thanks guys for watching. Be sure to subscribe to my Instagram and to my YouTube channel to keep updated with all live content, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao!